Good afternoon. My name is Dean Wilson. I'm the chair of the City of Erie Building Code Board of Appeals, and I therefore call to order this hearing before the City of Erie Building Code Board of Appeals. Christy Williams, Secretary to the Board, will now call the roll of members to determine those members present and whether or not we have a quorum.
Dean Wilson.
Present.
Dave Steele. Matthew Rose.
Present.
Bob Herbstritt. Doug Armstrong.
Present.
Dave Woods.
Here.
Al Naylor.
Here.
And we have a quorum. Thank you, Christy. At this time, I acknowledge the presence of Catherine Doyle, Deputy City Solicitor, and ask her if she has any comments she wishes to make.
No comments at this time.
Okay, thank you very much. Please note the following, that a contemporaneous transcript is being made of this hearing by a stenographer. Therefore, during the hearing, each person who speaks should begin by giving his or her name and the organization that he or she represents. This hearing before the City of Erie Building Code Board of Appeals has been called at the request of Loomis Park Opportunity Fund, LLC, which is seeking a variance to the IBC 2015 Table 705.8 as provided by the International Building Codes 2015 edition and as referenced in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania Uniform Construction Code. Members of the City of Erie Building Code Board of Appeals have been previously supplied with the following documents. Number one, an agenda for today's hearing. Number two, the Uniform Construction Code Appeals Board petition as received from Loomis Park Opportunity Fund, LLC. Number three, as an addendum to the petition for variance, 27 pages of architectural drawings for 102 Poplar Street, marked for the building permit phase as prepared by Interface Studio Architects, LLC of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. Number four, as an addendum to the petition for variance, 2 sheets of architectural drawings for 102 Poplar Street dated October 11, 2022 and labeled G002 Code Analysis and Egress Plans and G003 Facade Diagrams as prepared by Interface Studio Architects, LLC of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. During the hearing which follows this introduction, the City of Erie Building Code Board of Appeals will receive presentations from relevant parties following this order of presentation. First, the board will hear from representatives of the petitioner making the request for variance. Next, the board will hear from representatives of the building inspection underwriters, the organization City of Erie has designated as providing code compliance and plans review services. And at this point, I would note that there is no representative from BIU present today. Number three, the board will hear next from representatives of the City of Erie Fire Department. Number four, the board will next hear from representatives of the City of Erie Building Department. Number five, the board will then entertain questions from the members of the board directed to any of those who've given presentations or made comments. Number six, the chair of the board will then entertain a motion from a member of the board to either grant or deny the request for variance. Number seven, the board will then discuss and deliberate on that motion. Number eight, the board will vote on that motion. It is important to note that in considering a request for variance, the City of Erie Building Code Board of Appeals is constrained by the City of Erie Part 15 Uniform Construction Code Title 3 Administration, Article 1503.62F, which reads as follows. Part A, the Board of Appeals shall only consider the following factors when deciding an appeal under Section 501c2 of the Act. Number one, the true intent of the Act or Uniform Construction Code was incorrectly interpreted. Number two, the provision of the Act do not apply. Number three, an equivalent form of construction is to be used. At this time, the board invites the petitioner to offer a presentation to the board in support of the request for variance.
Thank you. My name is Matthew Frombaluti. I'm at Interface Studio Architects. I'm the project manager for 102 Poplar Street. Can everyone hear me there? I'm gonna
Yes, if
assume,
you
yeah?
could speak up a little bit more.
Okay. I'm just making sure it's right. Hi, my name is Matthew Frombeluti, project manager here and architect at Interface Studio Architects in Philadelphia. We're the architect for the 102 Poplar Street project. I'm going to share my screen so I can show the presentation. Oh,
Just one moment.
yes.
Okay, you should be able to share your screen now.
Okay. Thank you. So, as stated before, we are seeking a variance for the fire separation table 705.8, and in particular, the amount of allowed openings on the northern side of the property. So I'll give a few slides here for the context of where the site and the property is. This is the location of the site. It's in the waterfront district between 2nd and Front Street. The location of the site is down here. It is these 4 parcels which have been consolidated. And the issue that we have is that the northernmost property line here abuts this large property here that is marked 400, which is owned by the Port Authority of Erie. So so the northern facade that we are looking for the variance for is right here, is this lower line. This is a zoning diagram, so it actually shows the balconies and things like that, but the building itself is 10 feet back from the property line. And then this area up here, which is where the other property is, the other property by the city of Erie is actually this entire thing. It's a very small area that is only 39'9" between Front Street and the building property line, and 33'11" from the other side, because this street does have some movement to it. And you can see where the property is in these photos. This is probably the most relevant photo here. This blue building is an existing building on the site that is 5 feet away from the northern property line. So this is the area that is between our building, our northern facade, and Front Street. And so our argument would be that the intent of the code here is to prevent fire, and is to prevent fire from going from one building to a neighboring building. Since this is an interior lot line in this situation, the intent is that there would only be so many openings available on this building so that if a fire were to be there, it would not spread. However, we believe that it is very unlikely that another building is going to be built here. The area is owned by the Port Authority. It is a very small location, as you can see here. I'll just note that the 39'9" is taken from the face of the property line to the actual face of the street itself, not allowing for any sidewalks or anything like that. And this whole area is mostly used, I'm not going to say for a park or anything, but it's kind of for public use, and there's nothing else built on it. This is a view from the west side of the property. You can see all of the other projects. There's a fence here, but there's nothing built here. It doesn't seem like there's any intended use in this area. Just to go over the code, which you had mentioned before, the fire separation distance here is to the closest interior lot line, and technically speaking, that's the interior lot line. And so the code gives us 15% openings. I'll also note that this table here says non-sprinklered. Our building will be sprinklered in compliance with NFPA 13R, so it is not going to be an unsprinklered building. However, in order to fall under the sprinkler category, it has to be NFPA 13, which is much more stringent and is usually is not required for a residential building such as this. So I have a few pages from my from the architectural drawings here that will show exactly where the building is. Again, this is the building. This dashed line is the line of the outside wall of the building. Above it, there is an eave, but the actual wall of the building where the openings are is in this location. It's 10 feet away from the property line. And then this is the area above where we believe that no building will ever be constructed. We did dimension approximately 74 feet to the center line of the street. That's a little bit, give or take, I'm not going to say that that's exact. However, the dimension that I gave you before, which was 39'9" from the property line to the street, is taking off of the civil survey and is exact. And to be honest, if this was anything over 30 feet, then there would be an unlimited number of openings allowed anyway. This is one of the pages that was given to you that was reviewed by BIU and was returned as non-code compliant. This is a elevation of the northern facade here and the number of openings we are seeking. It is about 40%, 45% open. We feel that these windows are important because they provide a nice view to Lake Erie. And this is the reason why, architecturally speaking, we are seeking these additional openings. I have a number of other images here from the building set, from the permit set, which may not be relevant, but if during the conversation we need to look at them, we'll have them available. This is an image, again, of the elevation with balconies. And then the last thing that might be relevant, particularly relevant, is this is an elevation of the building, looking out on the northern facade. Again, this might not be relevant in terms of the fire separation, but this is what we are looking to have. And again, we feel that this is in line with the intent of the code, which is to prevent fire from spreading from one building to another. And that is the end of my presentation.
Okay, thank you very much. We do not have a representative from BIU present, so I would next ask to hear any comments from the City of Erie Fire Department.
My name is Donald Sauer, and I'm the Chief Inspector for the City of Erie Fire Department. The only question I would have is if they're going to have a fire pump, excuse me, fire pump, not a fire pump, a fire pump in the building, or is it just going to be domestic water pressure?
I believe that there is a fire pump in the building. We have it fully engineered as an NFPA 13R. I'm sorry, I don't remember exactly if it's sufficient for if the city pressure is sufficient for it, or if we needed a fire pump in this particular case, but it has been engineered and is being permitted currently as a 13R.
Is the building going to have a generator supplying emergency power to the fire pump if the regular electricity goes out?
There is no emergency generator.
Do we know if the Port Authority has a problem with this building going in? What's the Port Authority's take on where he wants to put the building and what he wants to do to it?
Have you had any correspondence with the Port Authority that would be in support of your request or against your request?
No, we have not had any correspondence with the Port Authority.
Our only concern would be if the Port Authority would look to build on that, although the property line, the area is very small, if the Port Authority would, want to do something down the road, but if they're not here to contest that, and if they're putting in a fully sprinkled system with a fire pump, we don't have a problem with what they're doing. Okay?
Thank you very much. Any comment from the City of Erie Building Department?
Andy Zimmerman, Manager of Code Enforcement, and I will speak somewhat for BIU, not for them, but just to reiterate that Table 705.8 the 10 to less than 15 feet only allows 15%. They're asking for 45% opening. In looking at that picture alongside the road, I will say that there is a right-of-way that is required, and I believe it's 15 feet. So if there was to be building there, it would be limited.
Okay, just to reiterate, you're saying that if they were to build a building there, it would be limited.
It would be very, very limited because of the right-of-way on the road.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Question, Doug Armstrong. Andy, when you say there's a right-of-way, as we're looking at this picture right now, the site views, so where the Port Authority owns would then be the other side of Front Street? Is that what that is?
Where the tree's located,
Yeah, just beyond that, is that,
that's their property,
that's Port Authority property?
Port Authority property.
But they could not remove that roadway? Is that what you're saying?
Not without council's approval.
And that would then indeed give them the space they need, the petitioners, the space they need for the distance between the two buildings,
They
if
would
there
have
was
to go
ever
to
a
the-
building built.
They would have to go to the Port Authority and ask for that footage.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from the members of the Board of Appeals?
Matt Rose. Just so I'm clear on this, the board is allowed to rule with regards to 3 different possibilities. I don't know which one is the architect claiming we should rule in his favor for. It's not that the code was necessarily wrong in this situation. There's not been a proposed alternate or substitute. What was the third option?
Yeah, the true intent was incorrectly interpreted. The provisions do not apply, or an equivalent form of construction is to be used.
Has this board previously ruled on a similar situation? I thought we have in the past, maybe a couple different ways, so that it would not be the exact same scenario. But I thought an early decision many years ago was that if this landowner got written approval by the adjacent property owner that they would not build on that property within a certain distance of their property, that would be allowable then? That would be considered an equivocal construction, as an example. If it's required that they be, in order to get this 45% of openings, they need to be 30 feet away, then they would get an agreement with the adjacent landowner saying that they would not build within that 30 feet plus whatever they would be required on their end, adding the two together and saying they would not build within that space. That would give enough distance between the two buildings if anything was ever built on the property in the future.
Okay. I want to make sure that the architect's representative, were you able to hear that comment?
I think I heard most of it. Was I understanding that you were saying that the Port Authority would have to say that they were not going to build within 30 feet of this location, or maybe I didn't quite understand exactly what you were implying there?
I believe he was pointing to the fact that if you had requested of the Port Authority a statement from them that they have no intention of building on the land that is necessary for you to meet the requirement of the code. In other words, that small piece of land that you indicated on your drawing that they own, that would be a factor that would influence the board's decision? I assume
Okay.
from what you said, no effort has been made to obtain that from the Port Authority.
No, we have not contacted the Port Authority. I mean, I understand what you're saying and that it is up to the Port Authority to build. You know, I'll just say that our argument is that it might not even be possible for them to build on that area because it's so small. You know, especially if you include any required setbacks and any space that would be taken in front of the street. It seems, you know, very unlikely that anybody, and there's the tree there, it just seems very unlikely that anything would ever be built there. Yeah, I mean, if there's an alternate construction, I mean, for our windows, the windows that we have on that face, you know, we could, for example, this building is being constructed as a 13R building. If this was a NFPA 13 sprinkler system, then that would, you know, then that would allow us to have 45% openings per the table. You know, we could add an extra sprinkler or an extra sprinkler head above the windows in order to create some extra safety for those windows in the you know, the unlikely event that anything was built there. You know, I think that going to an entire 13R for the building is, you know, kind of excessive, and I'm sorry, an entire NFPA 13 for the building is kind of on excessive and far in excess of the building code. But you know, we could make some extra effort at the actual window openings themselves to ensure that they are compliant.
Thank you. Any other questions from members of the board? Is a member of the board prepared to make a motion? I'm sorry.
I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't anybody here that's opposing the petition from the public.
Okay. Yeah. Is there anybody here from the public that's here to speak against this request? Yes, thank you. Any member of the board willing to make a motion?
Al Naylor, I would make a motion that we accept the building as it is, contingent upon the Port Authority signing an agreement not to build on adjacent property.
Okay.
Dave Woods, I'll second that motion.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. I just want to confirm with the Deputy City Solicitor that that is something that would be permissible for our ruling.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I thought it was, but I'd just like to check. All right, we have a motion before us. All in favor signify by raising their hand. Okay, it appears that the motion carries.
Okay, thank you.
With that, the hearing is adjourned. Thank you all very much.
Thank you for your time. Thank you.